What's up, everyone, and welcome to Clear Talk. In this video, if I get my mic right, probably still not right. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about what's going on over there in the Middle East. The events that happened this weekend. Kind of go over that, what I think about it, or yeah, pretty much what I think about it. Yeah, if you like what we're doing here, please consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Check out my other channels and stuff. JMD Drum, JM Drummer, that one. JMDPLAY, Discord there, one-time donations, or you can go up to JMD Nation at Patreon for $3 a month. Any support you give is very much appreciated, and I thank you very much. Because most of the stuff that I do, well, on this channel it's not, but I'm not monetized on this channel either yet. So yeah, you have to have a certain amount of followers and stuff before you can monetize. Um, so I'm not making any money anywhere. So anyways, but here we go. Um, so if you haven't heard yet, I'm pretty sure you have, but Syria, some events happened this weekend in Syria. So if you know you have, if you don't know where Syria is, it's kind of to the northeast of Israel. If you know where Israel is, so Israel, Lebanon is directly north of that. Syria is just to the west. I'm sorry, east of Lebanon. Um, a pretty decent sized country, but anyways, so uh, you have had a pretty harsh regime there, a dictatorship there for uh, over half of its inception, for good 50 something years, pretty much under the rule of a family. The current it was uh, currently was this is the Assad family. They currently was like the son of the previous one. So first it was, I guess you could say, like the senior one, the father, and then after him, what came the son that took over. He's ruled for like 20, I think like 24 years or something like that. So he is pretty much it's been pretty much a pretty brutal dictatorship the whole time. When I think when the son, from my understanding, when the son first came in, a lot people thought that it was going to be a change in the way things were done from the father, because the father was pretty brutal. And I think he first came in trying to be a little bit different, trying to be a little bit more like I don't know, whatever, more moderate like. Uh, but eventually he just kind of failed. I think from pressure from his mother and other, like, I guess, people around or whatnot. He wound up basically just becoming a carbon copy of his dad. I think some people even consider him worse. Um, but is a pretty harsh, like I said, harsh rule this for decades now, where yeah, there's certain rules, it was very, very restricted. Certain rules, you couldn't say anything against the government or anything. I mean, a lot of political or uh, imprisonment and stuff for that. Where they would brutally, abuse and beat people and I mean, it's been a pretty harsh regime for decades now. Um, and for the past like 13 years, I think, since like 2011, there has been basically like a civil war going on, where you've had, like, there's a lot of different factions and stuff within Syria. There's even some remnants of ISIS still left, there, although very minimal. But you have other, like, rebellious groups within Syria that have, um, that you could akin to, groups like Hamas or Hezbollah or the Houthis or whatever. Like these are rebellious groups that are rebel against a particular government that's in control. In this case, it was the government of Syria, uh, which is the Assad group, and um, so you have quite a few resistance rebel kind of militia style groups that have been fighting the Assad as Assyrian army and uh, for like I said for like 13 years with pretty much no luck. But here recently, with the support from what I understand, Turkey and there's one particular group, the I think it's HTS. They which is kind of like an offshoot of what used to be Al Qaeda, or what we previously knew of Al Qaeda. This is kind of a branch off of that. That when when there was a period where some things kind of went, from my understanding, went kind of awry or whatever in Al Qaeda, like people not completely agreeing with, I don't know, maybe the overall objective or whatever the case, I don't know. And so some of them broke off, and anyways, and went to Syria, and uh, this is the remnants of that group, and they are anyways, along with them, with the aid of Turkey providing funding and I'm sure weapons and stuff, training and things like that, or to some degree some kind of support they were given. Them along with did a coordinated effort along with a couple of other groups of people of like rebel groups, militias, to do this strategic attack on the Syrian government, the military and the government and everything, and where the Assad regime, since pretty much as long as I understand, has had support, or at least for a while, has had the support of Russia and Iran. That's like their biggest supporters as far as getting them like whatever, money, weapons, and just your basic supports. And it's kind of thought here that because of all the stuff going on, you have Russia tied up with Ukraine, and all that's been going on for 3 years now. You've had and of course Iran's been tied up with the stuff going on with Israel, with Hezbollah, Hamas, and all that. So kind of the thought here is that here lately, support for the Assad regime has kind of been lackluster, and where previously when these types of attacks or something similar has tried to be done, that the Assad group was able to fight against it and keep it at bay enough, anyways. But this time, that was not the case, and the groups were able to overtake certain militant installations and stuff, and then eventually made their way into Damascus, where the main government was like the capital or whatever of Syria, and the Assad family and everything took off. They left out and took the man, I can't think right now. My mind is he made his way to Russia for and basically seeking asylum there, and Putin gave him, of course, refuge there. So that's where he currently is, along with, I guess, maybe some of the family or whatever. Uh, so now, and this HTCS group then turned around and freed, like, all the prisoners and stuff, the political prisoners and whatnot. Which there's some, I guess, some sort of some kind of some issue with that to some degree, because while probably the majority, I would guess, were political prisoners, people that were innocent, didn't really have anything, no criminal like reason for being there. Uh, and they now they have, and some of which have been there apparently even for decades, maybe. There was even reports that some people that were released didn't even know what a smartphone was. I mean, that's how long they've been in these prison, containment areas. And so, but there's potentially a small percentage, at least, of these prisoners who actually really are criminals. So that has some concern with this, but the majority of the population of Syrians are been quite elaborate in their celebration of this toppling of the government, and so knocking down statues and of Assad and everything. I mean, several of them, and just celebrating on the streets. So there is positivity there. The people feeling that they have finally been freed from this brutal regime that's been in control of Syria for decades now. And while that is good, unfortunately, depending upon where things go from here, it could be, that feeling of, whatever happiness, celebration, could potentially be, short lived. Depending upon how and what goes forward as far as developing a government or whoever takes power, because unfortunately a lot of times when stuff like this happens in certain areas, you wind up unfortunately being replaced in some cases with even worse regimes. Now there's a lot of players in this, of course. You have of course, Russia is interested in it, although probably at this point will probably be somewhat minimal in their influence, because they do have like military installations and stuff there. But the main people will be Turkey, who is just north and on the border, and the U.S. and Israel. Of course, everybody's going to probably try to have some kind of hand in it in the whole region. I'm sure, there'll be several others that will try to have seats at the table as far as influencing how things go forward. But I think the three main ones are going to be Turkey, U.S., and Israel. Iran, I don't think they would probably like to also have some influence there, but I'm not sure how much influence they're going to have either. And that's the one thing that Syria was used for, as far as Iran was concerned, was the ability to transport and weapons and support and stuff to Lebanon and to Hamas through Syria. And so this has been quite a cutoff for them as with this happening. So once again, Iran has been weakened a little bit by these events happening this weekend. So Iran's in a predicament quite a bit. Hezbollah is in a probably worse predicament. So all that, like, because they have lost a part of the lifeline for them. So this will be very beneficial to Israel, of course. Uh, and you have seen this immediately in the aftermath of what's going on. Israel has once again uh, been making attempts at land grab, as they have been everywhere else. They have pushed further into the Golan Heights area. So uh, the Golan Heights is kind of it's kind of considered the buffer zone for between Israel and Syria. Part of the Golan Heights is occupied, controlled by Syria. Part of it by Israel. The part of by Israel was what Trump in uh, his first presidency kind of helped them annex. And that part that they annexed then was considered a buffer zone. That was the point in them trying to annex it, was to give them a buffer area between them and Assyria, and any kind of potential harm, conflict that they felt that they, could, you know, could be warranted through Syria, from Syria. So now the idea is that they are taking more land, moving the buffer area further up, so they need a buffer area to the buffer area. Netanyahu claims that this is temporary until something can be established to make sure that there's no hostile groups take that area. But I lack my assuredness in that actually being temporary is very, very low. This kind of been the point in Israel since October. Well, I mean, for as long as it's really existed, but especially since October 7th is to really push and press for the greater Israel idea, which many of the elites and even, I'm sure, some of the population even in Israel are, that's what they want. That's what they strive for. It's a part of the Zionist movement, is for the greater Israel, which we know would take up parts of Lebanon, parts of Syria, if not most of Syria, even parts of potentially even parts of Jordan, and most certainly the Gaza and West Bank area. So that, and this is what they've been doing all along. So that is the concern for Syrians right now, is really what's going to happen going forward. And while, like I said, the celebrations are great and the happiness of being out from underneath that regime is fantastic for them. A lot of people are now free. But and it's pretty much, I think mostly felt that this HTS group, which currently is kind of playing as somewhat of a de facto control right now, will more than likely not hold that. The leader of the HTC was like I said, he previously was like a leader in Al Qaeda. He's been imprisoned for that stuff for a period of time, and then like I said, he come back to Al Qaeda after he got out. He was freed from prison, but had apparently some issues with, I don't know, whatever the case, and kind of disbanded from them, creating his own kind of faction, and which is what has become the HTS. And then his current, which is odd, but his current claim so far is that he wants a more like more liberal like governance, more freedoms for everybody kind of thing, which is very odd coming from someone who's had the past that he's had. And it doesn't really line up with what he has said in the past. Now, in an interview that I saw, I don't know who it was with, but he was stating basically that, because they were questioning him on those previous things and why he's saying what he's saying now, and he claims that that is basically a wisdom of age. That when you're 20 something years old, you have these certain thoughts and aggressions or whatever the case. But as you grow older and you see more things, you start to change your mind about the world and whatnot, blah blah blah. So he's basically just claiming that he's wise in his age and see things a little bit differently than when he was doing the actions and stuff that he was doing in Iraq with Al Qaeda and whatnot in the past. Whether or not that is really true or not is yet to be seen. So far, like I said, his action so far is being to free everybody, and which is great in itself for the most part, anyways. But like I said, the powers that are going to want to have influence in the area for who gains or maintains the power in Syria, to create a government or whatnot. I mean, they have a basic. I mean, there's a basic government there, but to rule that government, is not clear that they will accept that particular group, the HTS group, to actually control and be in power. So this is, I think, some pretty. This is certainly a big event, big thing, and maybe for the moment. Well, it doesn't really even doesn't really even distract Israel, because they are continuing to do what they've been doing everywhere else. I mean, they had continued to do strikes in Lebanon, even though there's supposed to be a ceasefire. They've continued their work in the West Bank. They've continued Gaza. This is just one more, and even since this weekend, they've done bombed like over 300. Last number I heard was over 300 times in Syria. Bombing like weapons installations and stuff that were installations of the Assyrian military and whatnot. Basically, just trying to destroy any capabilities that anybody left in Syria could potentially, take advantage of, like other militia groups or whatnot, and become a danger for Israel. And that's what they've been. That's what they've been using the excuse for those bombings, those attacks, and the U.S. has also been doing the same thing. They've actually dropped quite a few themselves, ourselves, in Syria, doing the same thing. So it's kind of like a collaborative venture for the U.S. and Israel on that. So yeah, that's what's going on. At the best, plain Jane way of explaining it that I can give you. Who's to know what's really going to go forward? I guess we'll see in the coming months, maybe even the coming weeks, days, on who and how this evolves. But yeah, it's certainly wild event and something that nobody saw coming, nobody expected. This militia operation that headed up by the HTS, from my understanding, happened within 11 days. Like, this is the fastest moving, you know, government takeover that's it's successful anyway, at that, in modern history, I guess. Really, I don't know. It happened quick and it was very unexpected. So yeah, that's pretty much that. We'll have to look and see what happens from here. There's, like I said, there's several players, and certainly certain players are going to try to take advantage as much as they possibly can. That's my biggest concern, is just how much they will try to take advantage of it, particularly Israel, because they already seem to be trying to take advantage of it. And, you know, it's just, you're happy to see a group of people, citizens, millions of people, freed from a regime like that, that's been in, dictatorship, that's been in control like that for, like I said, decades, brutal. You're happy to see them freed from that, and they're and feel that freedom. It's just, like I said, and you what you would want to see is that continued, that freedom continued, right? To have and stay fully free, from advantageous um, groups, and people who want to take advantage, um, and won't really potentially allow for that freedom. But anyways, it's something, like I said, we're going to have to keep a watch on. But that's pretty much that, as much as I can really give or understand or know. It's a lot of, some of this I kind of already knew, but a lot of it I was trying to get a more knowledge on and understand. That's the best I've got at the moment, to try to, like I said, keep it plain Jane, and without going into too crazy a detail or something, or get confusing. I hope that wasn't confusing. But anyway, thank you very much. Let me know what you think. If there's something that I missed, more information that I don't know about, you want to share in the comments, please do so. And yeah, or just let me know what you think. How do you think this is going to go forward? Your predictions, I guess, or whatever. So yeah, thank you very much. And until next time, this has been Clear Talk. Peace. I'm out.